I'm autistic and I'm awesome. This is awesome. Have you been naughty or have you been nice? Hello, this is awesome and welcome to my rant review video. Just gonna have a picture, not gonna show any clips. It's at least I don't think so. I might end up doing. Depends on if I feel like that I need it, but I don't think I do. But I watched Rise of the Guardians recently. I wanted to get this out on the recorder before I play the game. It won't be posted before I play the game, but I just want to say this one first so I don't end up feeling like I'm repeating myself when I make the review. So, I watched the movie Dreamworks Rise of the Guardians, which is a movie about several different events being represented by magical beings which then have to defend the beliefs in children, and it's rather cheesy, but it's also got some basis on some old fairy tales. It's sort of like took inspiration from the old fairy tales, the old tellings, but hasn't really gone far enough into it to be completely accurate. So it just ends up coming off feeling a bit weird, because it's not 100% accurate to the old thing, nor is it cute and cuddly and what a kid would want. It didn't sell very well at the box office, although it's critically acclaimed, so it's like, yeah, I can see why. It's a rather dark and dank kind of movie, and the plot is, well, it's like Swiss cheese. I said the movie is like Swiss cheese. It looks good, it tastes decent, but why are there holes in it? It's like, that's what it's like. The movie was very confusing. I mean, I watched it with someone else, and even they didn't understand it. We were both just going, what? Half the time, because we just couldn't understand what the heck was going on. Everything was too fast, or certain things weren't explained. So the movie is a bit confusing, I have to say that. Also, but the characters were well done, and the special powers they have are cool. They are. Although there's quite a lot of things which were not explained about how their magic works and things like that. So it's sort of, yeah, there's quite a few plot holes and things like that. And there are some moments where you'll just be like, oh, because the villain was incredibly dumb or something incredibly cheesy and cliche happens in the movie. Just when you're thinking it was being pretty decent and having some good, having something different, then suddenly it does the typical child movie thing. So yeah, it's got a mixture of being weird or cliche. So it's not a good combination. It's either weird and doesn't go anywhere, or it's really, really cliche and you're just like, oh, so cliche even the kids will be like, blah. So yeah. But I swear, Jack Frost looks like Justin Bieber. I'm not kidding. I swear he's modelled off Justin Bieber. But the movie starts. It does have some dark themes in it. The movie does start with a child dying from being frozen in the water. It never directly says he's dead, but you know he is. And you see it happening. So you're like, yeah. You could consider it a magic transformation, but I don't think so. So, yeah. And there's quite a lot of liberties you have to take in this movie, quite a lot of gaps you have to fill in with yourself. And that's probably the worst part of the movie, is the fact that there's gaps that you have to fill in with yourself because it doesn't explain it properly. Like, you have to explain why he does this and why he does like what's his personality, how does this work, you know, why didn't they just do this, you know, that kind of thing. Plus, there's quite a lot of parts of the movie which were there and were kind of pointless. I think they were trying to develop a personality, but you'd never end up really feeling for the characters because they never developed it properly. So there was some kind of character development, but you never really feel like you care about them or you know them. They are rather bland characters in the movie. Except for, obviously, the quiet one. It's funny how the quiet character ends up having way more personality than all the people who talk. It's typical, isn't it? But, yeah, and the villain's dumb. Just to say, the villain is blooming dumb. Spoiler alert. The villain tricks Jack Frost into giving him his stick at the end of the movie, and you're thinking, oh no, Jack Frost's magic comes from his stick. And it's like, no, obviously it doesn't. I can see this coming. I can see exactly what's going to happen here. And it's just going to fix his stick and with magic, because his magic is not in the stick, it's in himself, and that's exactly what happened. So I'm like, well, the villain was stupid. I mean, you could have used the stick yourself instead of breaking it. You could have broken it and then kept the pieces, so it would be harder for him to recover his magic, since he was in a ditch and everything. But instead, he broke it, so he couldn't use it, and then chucked it down the hole with him. I mean, what? You know what I mean? So just fiddling around with my thing. I've got something ready to go, but it was just a really stupid thing for the villain to do. It really was. It's a really stupid villain moment, and there were quite a few times where the villain looked like he was being smart, but he actually wasn't smart. He was there going, "Look how smart I am! I came up with the idea of this to cover this thing, and this plan to cover this." But then it's like, then suddenly when they do something really obvious, he goes, "What? They're doing that?" And it's like, well, yeah. So, yeah, it's quite a strange contrast. It feels like there's two different writers fighting each other. It really does. It's like, that happens quite a lot in these obscure movies. What often happens is that there's clearly several ideas that this movie wants to use, but all of them are just jumbled together and come out as a mess that is not very well directed, not very well focused, doesn't make much sense. It only has a bit of each idea. So you see a lot of potential in it, but it doesn't actually go anywhere. So that's kind of what the movie feels like to me. It's another one of those movies. If you've watched loads of movies, kids' movies, like obscure ones, you'll know what I mean. It happens a lot. But yeah, my favourite character is probably the Dust Guy, because like I said, he's got way more personality than everyone else just because he doesn't talk. Although there was a few moments where characters went out of character and things like that, and you have to wonder why. Like, the Santa guy is meant to be dead jolly and happy, and yet he gets really aggressive. He gets really aggressive to Jack Frost, and it's like, hang on a sec. And then he's like dead nice for some reason. It's like, what? I don't get it. Why are you being aggressive and then being nice? I mean, surely Jack Frost would just be like, I don't know how to feel about this. One moment you were threatening to kill me, and the next moment you were giving me toys. What? And then he says, my special thing is that I have the imagination and wonder of a child. It's like, if you have the imagination and wonder of a child, why are you being so aggressive? It's kind of strange. There's quite a lot of contrasting moments where you're just like, that doesn't really make any sense. Plus there was like a whole plot where this kid got lost and then they had to send it back home, which didn't go anywhere. So there's quite a lot of things like that. Like there's the part where everyone's supposed to distrust Jack Frost for some reason, even though they already didn't trust him. And they never showed any evidence of them trusting him all of a sudden. So then suddenly he apparently does something that makes them untrust them. And it's like he had a perfect excuse for why he didn't do it. Why he did something and didn't do something that they thought he did. And yet he never actually said what the excuse was. I mean, the whole point of that lie reveal thing is meant to, like, when any bad guy makes you look like, but you're bad when you're not done anything, is meant to be that you tell them and they don't believe you because they don't trust you. But that wasn't what happened. Instead, they say, did you do this? And he went, I don't know, I guess. It's like, why don't you just tell them the truth, you idiot? So, yeah, there were a few moments where the characters were just really thick. I mean, Jack Frost in particular was really dumb in that movie. There were several moments where you're just like, duh, Jack Frost, do something, about this. It's this obvious opportunity, but no. Plus, quite a lot of the time, because there were, it's very difficult to keep track of like 5 different main characters. So because of that, each character doesn't get developed very much. So none of them end up fleshed out because they spend a little bit of time on each and they don't have enough time for any of them. But also, because there's so many characters, they can't keep track of them all within the movie. So quite a lot of the time you'll be like, where's this guy? Where's that guy? For a whole scene. Because they're just missing because they had to have the scene and they had to forget that they were there in order for that scene to play out. So they don't really think it through having that many characters. So a lot of times the characters are missing in the scene when they should be there just because they couldn't handle writing them in. So there's quite a few moments like that in the movie where you're just like, oh, come on. But there were some clever ideas behind it. It is a real shame. It's really like feels a lot like a missed opportunity. The whole movie feels like a missed opportunity. It's like you had something, but then you just screwed it up by not focusing it well enough, by not planning it through, you know. You just went, here you go, here's an old traditional idea, just make a movie out of that. Shell it out, get some Christmas money. You know, that's literally what they did. So, it is a shame. But decent as far as kids' movies go. There's worse. There's definitely worse than that. I mean, I'd say I can understand why it has a critical acclaim. It has got some interesting concepts in it. It's certainly interesting to watch if you're interested in watching movies and analysing them like I am. But otherwise, if you wanted a good show for your child, definitely do not show them this, because it's way too confusing, way too dark, and just boring. The kid just wouldn't get it or wouldn't care. There's that. But then there's also the you wouldn't want to watch it as an adult because it's, again, confusing, even for an adult. Also because it's bland. So as an adult wouldn't want to watch it either. Plus it doesn't have much about the actual history of the fairy tales, so there isn't any interesting things that the adults can get with it. So, yeah. But thank you for listening. It's awesome. I didn't really have much to say about this movie, I'm afraid. But see you again next time. See ya.